Good evening, one. Good evening, all. I pray that you have had a stupendously phenomenal day. I am so grateful for each and every one of you that have gotten in the room already. And we are excited about tonight's very important conversation around coronavirus vaccination. We all, I believe, by now have heard that there have been, I believe, two vaccines that have received emergency authorization here in the United States, and there are more to come. The coronavirus continues to ravage our country. I believe yesterday was the deadliest day, as well as the most hospitalizations yet from coronavirus. And of course, the state of Florida has been one of the hardest hit states in the United States of America. Our positivity rate still hovering somewhere between 12 and 13%. And so it's very important, not necessarily that we concentrate on it, but that we keep it in our conversations because public health and well-being is not just for the medical professionals to talk about or our governmental leaders to talk about. It is also our job as the church, faith-based community, to be at the forefront of any and every conversation that pertains to public life, health, and well-being. The reason why, it's no strange thing, the reason why our church doors physically have remained shut in both of our physical locations is because under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, I have been led to make sure that we do not become an incubator for COVID-19. In our particular worship tradition, at some point, somebody's going to get happy in the Holy Ghost and take off their mask. Respiratory droplets going to be flying everywhere. We're going to get to running and shouting and dancing and praising God. And next thing you know, we are potentially a spot for super spreading. I am not afraid or ashamed to say that we have in our church had a few close calls, even in our pre-recordings, where we are extremely careful. Over half of our musicians have had coronavirus. One of our praise team members has had coronavirus. And unfortunately, we have had a COVID death in our church. And so I'm being extremely prayerful and vigilant. And I am, of course, waiting for the day when we can return to be with one another. But until that time comes, we are going to be careful and we're going to be aware of all of the various opportunities that we have before us. And so tonight we're going to have this conversation about vaccination. So here's what I would like for everybody that's with me to do. First thing I want us to do this evening is to enter the room, press like, and then also press share. Okay, press share. Okay, every member of the Hope Fellowship, we want to get this information out here for everybody, not just in Daytona, but those who are in Flagler, those who are in Orlando, those who are in Deltona, DeLand, DeBerry, New Smyrna, everywhere. Let's this share. I need a couple of you to join me tonight as well in hosting a watch party. The watch party are persons that are more closely connected to you than they would be to our social media pages. And you can see their conversations. And so if people have questions, if there's something you want to add to the conversation, you can then present that from the persons that are in your watch party. All right. So I need us to do that. Like, share. Let's get it out there. Those of you as well who are familiar with how to share a flyer, go grab that flyer off of our Facebook page and put that on your story, put it on your Facebook page so that we can make sure that we are the resource that God has called us to be. Part of our mission at Hope Fellowship Church is to reach, to connect, to grow, and to serve. That is who we are. We reach, we connect, we grow, and we serve. And this particular conversation tonight encompasses all of those various areas. We're reaching out to our community. We're connecting one with another. We're growing in our knowledge, and we are serving the community. So I pray that all is well with each and every one of you. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you all for being with us. And we don't want to delay the time much longer. But once you've shared, I'm big on accountability. Let me know it. Let me know it. Say, hey, Pastor, I've shared. I'm hosting a watch party. We want to get this information out tonight. We have some very, 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 very special guests that I want to present in just a moment. One of the things I have always loved about Hope Fellowship Church is the fact that we have had historically just such a wealth and a repository of knowledge and connection within our parish, within our congregation. And it has been such since the ministry began under our founder in 1995, and it continues until even now. And so I am so blessed that Nurse Tina Carlyle, who has done some tremendous things. We know her because she she and her husband own several assisted living facilities, but she's also been in public health nursing for a long, long time. And so she is very well connected, and she has a passion for making sure that people live healthy lives. She is also the lead of our health and wellness team at Hope Fellowship Church, and she makes sure that we stay in line. All right. When she comes to the pre-recordings that we do for worship, she's our mask enforcer. She makes sure our temperatures are checked, hand sanitizer, all that type of stuff, because she's passionate about making sure that we remain healthy. So I want to introduce her tonight. She's going to be leading this conversation along with me. So let's bring Nurse Tina on real quick.
Good evening, Pastor. Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly excited about tonight, actually, and having Dr. White on with us tonight. So
absolutely. And so we have a very special guest who is with us. He is a medical professional, an MD, part of a vaccine research team. As a matter of fact, it's my first time meeting him. So I'm going to let Tina Carlyle introduce our special guest this evening.
thank you so much. So tonight with us, we have Dr. Alexander White, who has been in practice and a physician for more than 25 plus years, more than 30 years. I met him at Halifax over 20 years ago. Phenomenal physician, great integrity, great character. This man actually runs his own practice. It's called Progressive Medical Research. He does a lot of different research studies on Alzheimer's, fatty livers, hypertension, congested heart failure, COPD. And the greatest study that he's doing right now is a trial on the coronavirus vaccine. So we have him here with us tonight so he can answer any of your questions that you may have, as well as hopefully get some of you in this trial, because it's very important that we engage and have a clear understanding of what this vaccine could and could not be and do for us as far as being beneficial. It's important that those that are vulnerable, those that have pre-existing conditions, understand the importance of being vaccinated. So Dr. White is here with us tonight, and he is going to enlighten us on a lot of truths in regards to the vaccine trial that he's doing, as well as answer our questions.
Awesome. So everybody, welcome Dr. Alexander White. Let me see some thumbs up and some hearts in the comment box from everybody. Let's welcome Dr. Alexander White. Sir, welcome to Hope Fellowship, the Victory Center. I think you're muted. Yes, I think you're muted, but welcome. We are so glad that you have joined us this evening. So
there you go.
Can you talk to us a little bit just before we jump into even talking about COVID? Can you talk to us a little bit about vaccination, the purpose of vaccination, perhaps even some of its origins and how, its benefits and the like?
Okay, well, I'd like to start by saying thank you. I'm very blessed to be here with you guys. As Tina said, we've known each other for years. We worked at Halifax, like she said, it had 25, 30 years ago. That's pretty accurate. And one thing that she mentioned is the research that we do, and I see Hope up in the right-hand corner. And one thing that a lot of speaking about is Alzheimer's disease. And I'm just going to preface this by saying there's a lot of despair and frustration and fears when it comes to Alzheimer's disease, and we always try to bring a message of hope. And I hope this is going to bring a bit of a message of hope for the coronavirus too. And when we can possibly see the light at the end of the tunnel here with these vaccines and people participating in trials, because I think what we need to do is we need to have many, many different options. We're reading about production slowdowns and not getting enough vaccines to the different communities. So we need a lot of different options. And the one thing about this particular trial that attracted me is it's a kind of a traditional flu vaccine type of a trial. It's a platform that they've used for over 30 years in developing flu vaccines and a lot of other types of vaccines. And so there's a lot of known history of side effects and long-term effects and understanding what this is doing in the body. A lot of the two on the market, they seem very, very effective. It's a newer technology. We can go into that a little bit later, but we talked to a group yesterday, and I see the coronavirus turning into more of a seasonal flu. It's kind of like influenza virus. As more vaccinated, as more people become immune to it from maybe contracting the illness themselves, we'll need something like the flu shot for the coronavirus, and I believe this is what we're developing here.
Awesome. That's good. That's good news, and it really segues up into talking about vaccination just in general. What is the purpose just overall of any vaccine?
Well, basically, we're trying to prevent something from developing infection of, let's say, let's say the measles vaccine was developed and was a very high effective vaccine, and over decades of immunizing people, they essentially eliminate measles. So some vaccines like polio and measles, you have the opportunity to actually eliminate them or almost completely eliminate them from even infecting anybody in the world. Other vaccines like the flu vaccine, there's so much changing every year. There's an evolution to the virus. So you're pretty much to keep the illness from affecting somebody's immune system by having essentially on the ready. That's what the antibodies are from the vaccine. When you do get exposed to the virus, you have the ability to fight it off. So we had some questions yesterday. Are you preventing the infection, or are you just making the illness less? And I think the answer to that is both. If you mount a very good immune response, people's immunities are weaker or stronger, you can completely eliminate the possibility of getting infected. But if your immune system is a little bit lesser, then you could you just have a less severe infection.
Interesting. So basically, and just for the layman's people like me who are not by any way medical professionals, I'm a musician by trade. So vaccines are certainly not cures, and that even if you take the vaccine, what you're telling us, any vaccine, there's no 100% assurance that you may not contract whatever you're being vaccinated against.
That is true. There is no 100% in pretty much anything that we do in medicine, and that's why it's such a interesting challenge. The stats on the Moderna and the Pfizer, though, did show that like 94 and 96% effective. So in the Moderna study, they had 30,000 people, and so 15,000 were placebo, 15,000 were vaccinated. And of the vaccinated people, there were 0 severe cases of coronavirus. There were only a total of about 180 infections, and most of those were in the placebo group. Some of them were only about 30 or 36 of them were in the vaccinated group. So you could see that the people, you had a lesser incidence of the disease, and it was a less severe case as well. So some people, 94% of the people were prevented from even getting it, and the people that did get it, it was a severe case. The Pfizer had very similar statistics, and that one only about 10 people had a severe case. One was in the vaccinated group, and the other 9 were in the placebo group. So I think what we're seeing here is we're effectively either preventing the illness or making it a much more manageable infection.
Okay. So when we talk about placebo, just to make sure everybody is following the conversation. When we speak about placebo, we're talking about basically a shot that doesn't have any medicine in it, correct?
Correct, yes. And you have to do that in developing all the medications, because you would never know the difference between whether the drug was working or not if you didn't compare it to the placebo group. So some people have a hard time accepting that. Trust me, I have these discussions all the time, especially like in Alzheimer's. Well, what if we get 50% of the people have placebo? Well, if you don't participate, it's 100% placebo. So if you participate, you at least have a 50% chance of getting the real thing. The other thing that, because there's an understanding that this is an ethical issue, especially with the coronavirus, if at some point the medications like the Pfizer and the Moderna, those trials are still ongoing because they want to see how long the immune system will have antibodies. So what happened is the FDA evaluated the data early, and they said, listen, this appears to be safe enough and effective enough. Let's put it on the market while we continue to study it. And then the same thing in this particular trial, where it's a Janssen, it's a J&J trial. If it's approved by the FDA to be used and people are on the trial, they will automatically give the people with the placebo the real thing. So once this is commercially available, even if you had the placebo, you will get the real thing within the study.
Wow. And so I'm going to ask one more question. I'm going to direct this to Tina, and then I'll turn it over to you, Tina, to continue the conversation. But Hope Fellowship in Daytona and Flagler, as well as several others, churches and pastors who follow us, are in the predominantly African American community. And we know that the African American community has been disproportionately affected by the coronavirus in terms of illnesses. Unfortunately, as a people group, we are of some fault of our own, and of some fault not of our own. We have more comorbidities and health issues than some other people groups and nationalities and the like. So from a public health nursing perspective, can you speak a little bit, Nurse Tina, even towards African Americans and their willingness to participate in health trials and all of these types of things? Nurse Tina Carlyle.
Absolutely. So, and one of the reasons why I wanted to approach this situation with Dr. White in our church pretty much setting was because I wanted to alleviate the fears of minorities and thinking that, this is back in the Tuskegee days. And it's not. This vaccination is offered to everyone. No matter if you're black, white, green, or yellow, everyone's going to get the same. Either in this trial, you're either going to get the placebo or you're going to get the actual vaccine. Nobody really knows which one you're going to actually get. This is not a trial that is just pulling for African Americans only. Mm-hmm. Now, why is it important that African Americans get involved is because we are the ones that have the comorbidities, socioeconomic disparities and different things like that, and the heart disease, COPD, CHF, and we are the ones that do not have as many resources as others are privy to, per se. Rather it's because we choose not to, or rather it's because there's a socioeconomic disparity. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that today we could bring Dr. White on and Dr. White could explain this trial and the importance of African Americans getting involved in this trial. It's very conventional. It's very safe. This is a man that I trust. This is a company that he's dealing with, Johnson & Johnson, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, that I trust, that I feel has a lot of integrity. This is not about, them trying to kill any minorities off or anything like that. But it is important that minorities get involved so we can see where we lie when it comes to these vaccinations. Will it be a good thing for us or will it not be? And if you get in the trial is not going to cause death. And Dr. White is going to get deeper into this trial for us so we can have a clear understanding. But for me, it's important that my people are educated. It's important that my people understand and they know the importance of, if you have comorbidities, if you have issues, if you have cares or concerns, if you feel like you don't want to really wear a mask or comply and you want to kind of live your life the way you live it, then guess what? You need to be the first one knocking at Dr. White's door. You really do. And because COVID is killing people. So again, he'll speak to the fact that just because you do get the vaccine is not going to 100% alienate you from getting COVID, but it's going to give you quite a bit of immunity. So Dr. White, and I'm just going to go over some numbers because I really want everybody to understand this. Throughout the United States, we have had more than 21 million people confirmed with COVID. In Florida alone, we've had over 1 million. Over almost 1,500,000. In Volusia County, we've had over 24,000. Volusia County, we've had over 460 deaths. In Florida, over 22,000 deaths. So those numbers are real numbers. My sister-in-law, I lost my sister-in-law just this past June to COVID. I have friends, she had no symptoms. I've had friends of friends that have lost people. So this is real. I've lived my life for the last 9+ months wearing a mask. I've gotten to the point to where I've color coded my clothes and the mask is now in my fashion closet. Face shield is in my fashion closet and I'm okay with that. But you have a lot of people that aren't okay with that. And I feel like those people that aren't okay with wanting to wear a mask or wanting to social distance, then guess what? You need to knock on Dr. White's door and you need to be a part of this trial. It is a safe trial. It's an effective trial. And I know I'm not supposed to say it, but I'm going to say it. You might even get monetary gain from it. Most of the trials do put a little cash in your pocket. So I'm just going to be truthful. So Dr. White, please tell us a little bit about the trial and try to help me clear up some of the fears that African Americans have about, I don't want to get stuck with this needle because it's going to kill me, or they're going to inject something in me that's going to soon kill me.
Well, let me. I'm not a professional speaker, so I have all these thoughts running through my head. The one thing I'm most proud of, that people are guinea pigs, and the one thing that I'm so proud of is when we put people on clinical trials or people volunteer, it's completely 100%. You get an informed consent. You know more about what's happening through the informed consent process. There's probably about 16 pages you read through. So, and it's all up to you to agree to be in the trial or not, no matter what the trial is. At any point, you're in control of your own, fate. If you're having a bad experience for whatever reason, you want to pull out, you're obviously able to do that. But what I find is people end up really, really enjoying being in clinical trials because so much attention. I think there's a issue in health now where there's a lot of telemedicine, and which is a good thing for people, but we're sometimes losing that personal touch. The offices are crowded and it's hard to get through on the telephone. When you're in a clinical trial, you have a team of people that are caring for you. We even give our cell phone numbers out a lot of times to some of the family members to reach out to us. And this particular clinical trial, you are going to be followed so closely. You literally, you're going to have a diary to keep. And if at any time you're feeling sick, we contact you, we see you, we test you, you have a place to go. You have people to ask questions to. And you will almost get sick of us because you'll have so much attention from us. And another thing that I'm also proud of is we take a holistic approach. So literally today, I had 2 people that came in. They were not previous patients of ours. Blood pressure was sky high. They didn't have doctors. We'll take care of you. I'm going to check your blood. I'm going to, outside of the study, I'm going to give you prescriptions and I'll follow you. I mean, we need to take care of our communities. And this has been a blessing to me because it's given me the opportunity to give care to people that maybe don't have care. And even if you have the best insurance and the best, all the way in the world, you cannot get some of the therapies that we can provide through these clinical trials. So, there's so many benefits, and we just encourage you to come see us, to call us. We have a website as well if you wanted to go to progressivemedicalresearch.com and just get a better feel of who we are and where we are and what we do. So as far as this trial goes, so essentially you come in, you screen for it, we take your medical history, we take your vital signs, we make sure that you're in decent health. This particular trial, you can have many comorbidities, which is perfectly fine. Even people with HIV are able to be in this trial. So it's open to all comers on this particular trial. So that's a good thing. But we still want to make sure you're in good health. You end up, after you get vaccinated, we have come back in about 4 weeks because we want to check for antibodies. Then you come back for your second vaccination after total of 8 weeks. And then we keep having you come back in every month or so to check for the antibodies. Because what you're trying to do with the vaccine trial is you're trying to not only establish if you're preventing the infection, have a lesser infection in people, but you also want to see if this immunity lasts for a period of time. And that's a lot of people ask questions, well, how long will this last? And we had, again, with Tina yesterday, we had a lot of people asking that same question. And the answer is we don't know. They think the antibodies from either the infection, if you get coronavirus, or if you get the vaccine, we believe it's at least 6 months. But these clinical trials go on for a couple years. So even though you've been vaccinated, we still want to see over time, are these antibodies in your bloodstream and for how long do they last? So we're not only trying to prevent the illness, we're trying to how long this lasts. And that helps future development of vaccines based on what we find in this one.
So, Dr. White, the one thing that I love, and I spoke to you about this a while ago, you had an opportunity to be a part of the Moderna or the Pfizer trials, and you chose not to. Tell us why you chose the Johnson & Johnson trial versus Pfizer and Moderna.
This kind of goes against what you would think a researcher would say, but this was too important in my mind to expose my patients to something I didn't understand very well. There's no history of an mRNA vaccine out there. So I think I was reluctant, and when we interviewed some of our patients, should we take this trial? They had a lot of reluctance. We actually put the question out on Facebook to some of our people, some of our patients, and we got too many people with concerns. So I'm not going to push something that my community doesn't want. My people in my practice, they would not participate in. So when this opportunity came up with this particular trial, and like I said, being the traditional platform they've had for 30 years and a much better understanding of the side effect profile, we decided this was the best thing. And we were so lucky, I think, for our community to get this, because there's only about 40 centers in the United States doing this particular trial.
I can't hear you, Pastor.
Sorry about that. I was saying I'm so excited, and there are benefits to being in the Daytona community. We have e-members all over the country, but this is for people who are in Daytona, in Volusia, that have the opportunity to participate in this. Volusia and the surrounding areas, correct? That have the opportunity to yield yourself to this. We do have a couple of questions coming in from the audience, and we want to make sure that we keep you all engaged. So Kim Stewart asked, even after getting the vaccine, we should still wear our masks?
Absolutely. The mask. Go ahead, Dr. White.
Okay. All right. I think the guidelines will have us still wearing masks. Okay. There is some hope with the effectiveness of the vaccine that once about 70% of the people have been vaccinated or have contracted the illness and are immune from natural causes, we can fear the spread. So it will be a while that we're still wearing masks even after that, but you could feel a sense of security, I would think, that whether you're vaccinated or you're in a clinical trial, that you have a really good shot that this is not going to be a severe thing, and you may not even get anything. And at some point, I think we're going to get back to life as we knew it before. And that's why, again, we're pushing for more and more people to participate so we can get to that point quicker. I know they want to enroll this trial as fast as possible, where they're looking at maybe another month of enrollment. So we're trying to get as many people in and have as many people have the opportunity to participate.
Awesome. Gwen Smith asked, well, she first and foremost said that she is getting the vaccination when she has an opportunity, that she is going to vaccinate. She says, I have diabetes, high blood pressure, and COPD. Wow, that's a lot, and the Lord's going to heal that. But are the side effects more likely when you have comorbidities than they would for persons who don't?
I think that what we're seeing with the Moderna and the Pfizer, the only predictor of the only thing we can predict potentially having a side effect is somebody who has a history of severe allergies or allergic reactions to medications or vaccines in the past. That's the only thing that's been established as a comorbidity that would be more likely that you have the side effect. I don't think just having those illnesses or those diseases will make you more likely to have the side effect.
Well, I need everybody to hear that again. If you had just happened to get distracted, Dr. White just told us that the only persons up to present that it appears have extreme reactions or side effects are persons who have historically throughout their lives had allergic reactions to medications and vaccinations and the like. Did I repeat that correctly?
That you did. It doesn't mean that other people won't have side effects, but that's the only thing that statistically you can have a better likelihood of predicting. So, again.
Wow.
Now, Dr. White, quick question, because I want people to understand and know that's on the call that we're really trying our hardest to get people to enter into the trial that's going on at Progressive Medical Research, which is Dr. White's practice. So hopefully we'll share that information with you here soon. It's important to get involved with this trial, again, because this is a physician that's board certified and that will monitor you and watch you again for a year, even potentially up to 2 years. So there's a question that came up asking what blood types did they use during the creation and testing of the Pfizer vaccine?
I can answer that simply. I have no idea. I really, I'm sorry.
Okay. And then there was another question. We've got several questions of people asking, is it true that natural vitamin D, etc., helps?
What's interesting is I literally just read an article yesterday about the vitamin D, and it absolutely looks like it's hugely important. As I like to talk about research and whenever I get an opportunity to talk, the number one thing we can do for ourselves regardless is to have a healthier lifestyle. I'm not pushing medications on people. I don't think everybody needs to be on medication. I don't think everybody needs to be in a clinical trial. However, everybody needs to take control of their own health. And unfortunately, a lot of people either can't do it themselves and they need some medication, but a healthy lifestyle, diet, avoiding the smoking and all the other things that can harm your body, and nutritionally support yourself, I think are very good. They literally had some controlled clinical trials with vitamin D in the patient in the hospital, and they gave really high mega doses to these people, like a couple 100,000 units over 7-day period. It was striking. Like 3% of the people that got the vitamin D ended up in the ICU versus like 40 that didn't. So it does seem like a very, very good protective vitamin in order to, and I would certainly recommend that.
Okay. So Dr. White, I've noticed or been, it's been shared to me with me. Some people that have gotten the Moderna or the Pfizer vaccine. I actually got a call yesterday, and someone shared with me that they felt like the first day they were fine. They were jumping around. They felt like they had a burst of energy, but the next day they felt like they got hit with a Mack truck. Where what do you think that that's coming from?
Sorry, repeat the first part of that. I somehow I didn't hear it completely.
So someone got the vaccine from the Moderna vaccine, and they said they felt fine. But the very next day, when they woke up, they felt like they were hit with a Mack truck, and they got nervous.
So what happens when, like, I was reading about the Moderna and the Pfizer side effects, and what they termed it was reactogenicity. So you get the vaccine, and it's not initially that the body starts to recognize the antigen. What happened? Oh, you're putting in a foreign substance that the body sees as a threat, and it starts firing up the immune system to attack it and create antibodies to fight it off so as your immune system recognizes the antigen, you could have that immune response. They call it reactogenicity. You just flare up your immune system, and that kickstart the whole immune system process of creating the antibodies. Everyone don't even feel it, but obviously in a very small percentage. I think it was only 2% of the people on the Pfizer and Moderna had a kind of significant where they felt like they got hit by a truck. So it's a small percentage, but it's just basically showing that it's working. That's one. No, you didn't get the placebo, more than likely.
So might that explain why some of us who get the flu vaccine or the pneumonia vaccine sometimes feel icky for 2 or 3 days, or maybe a day or so after that? Is that same reactogenicity situation?
That is, yes, it is. Back in the day, they used to actually use the virus to. They give you a little bit of the virus, your body would be exposed to it, and you'd kind of get sick from. Some people say, "I always got the flu when I took the flu shot." Well, now they don't use the live virus anymore. They just use like a protein sequence from virus. Like, for example, all of these, the Moderna, Pfizer, and the Janssen, they're using a protein sequence in the spike protein, and the spike protein is what attaches itself to the cell and allows the virus to get into the cell. So your body's only seeing the spike protein and not the whole virus, but that's enough for the body to recognize it as an enemy and go after it. But again, you do have an immune response, which is an inflammatory type of a process. So that's why some people feel kind of miserable for a couple of days.
Wow. So I am so excited. Like, I'm jumping up and down on the inside, because even without me asking the questions, you're answering some of the questions and debunking some of the myths. One of the myths that many people, and I've heard it throughout the years in our community, is that whenever you're getting a vaccine or an immunization, that you are being given live virus. And that is not true, at least now. Okay, so I hope that you all heard that.
Yeah, I think
not being injected or with a dead version of COVID in order to build an immunity to it.
Right. There's no COVID in these vaccines, only a spike protein sequence that's supposed to fire up the immune system.
So, Dr. White, what is the difference between Pfizer and Moderna compared to Oxford? Is it true that they use fetal tissue? Was a question.
Again, the Oxford, I think is that the AstraZeneca Oxford? I think that's similar to. I think that's similar platform, the adenovirus platform that Janssen and J&J is. So it's more the Oxford that we have, Moderna and Pfizer, are using, again, the messenger RNA to be the way to get the antigen into your system. And if you want to hear a little bit how that works, the messenger RNA, basically
Yes.
it's kind of a subtle difference. The traditional vaccines are basically, like I said, we inject your body with circulating antigen, which is that protein sequence that we want the body to see as a foreign substance, and that's how you get it. With the messenger RNA, what you're doing is delivering the RNA of the spike protein into your own body's messenger RNA system. So now your own body's producing the antigen and kicking out the spike protein antigen. It's not introduced into the body to circulate. Your cells are creating the antigen, and then your immune system recognizes foreign. So it's a subtle difference, but again, the messenger RNA is much more new technology that we're still learning a little bit about.
Okay. Dr. White, when it comes to the trial that you're doing at your office with Johnson & Johnson, would you recommend, or would it still be okay for those that are taking like the vitamin D, the B12, the B6, would that still be okay for them to take those types of natural remedies per se?
And we're having a little bit of
in a natural
issue with Dr. White. Dr. White, are you back? We're getting a little, maybe it's the Wi-Fi. There you are.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I see Tina disappear every now and then too. I don't know what's going on here. As I spoke earlier, I'm very much a proponent of holistic and natural remedies. So oftentimes I will direct people to go to like a health food store where those people probably are educated about the different products on the market and what does what. But generally, I would say I'm very much in favor of people doing that, and there's no restriction to continuing taking anything that you're currently taking by participating. We don't tell you, oh, you can't participate because you're on too many vitamins or you're on certain medications. So that would certainly be encouraged and allowed.
Okay. And are there any contraindications with any medications? What persons would be exempt from the trial?
Essentially the only exemption are people that are currently on an immune suppressant. So if somebody takes a daily 20, I think the cutoff is like 20 milligrams of prednisone a day, or if they have some kind of autoimmune disease and they have to be on an immune suppressant, and there's a long list of those. But and that's kind of an obvious understanding of that, because if your immune system can't mount the antibody response that they're looking to see, it's going to kind of mess with the data to see was it the vaccine not effective, or was it medication suppressing the immune system, so we couldn't really mount the antibody response that we wanted. So that's essentially the only exclusion. It's 18 and over, so if you're under 18, you're excluded as well.
So under 18 is excluded from the trial. As we're listening to this, those of you who know people in our local region that you know are on social media, I want you to tag them. Many of you have already shared, and I appreciate that. But I need you to start tagging individuals. The information for Dr. White's office is right there on the screen. So if you are interested in being a part of this trial, I would highly suggest, especially if I'm your pastor, I highly suggest that you give him a call, that you give his office a call. Also, I want to reiterate something that he said, particularly for those you might be dealing with some issues in a lapse of insurance or having an issue going on. Basically, Dr. White says he's not going to, treat you like a guinea pig. Just come in here, let us shoot you up with the virus, and then you got all this stuff going on with you, and we don't even attend to it. He's going to make sure that as best as possible and within reason He's not about to become your your standard practicing family practice physician for you and your children. But as much as it is possible, he's going to make sure that he attends to your health in this process. So I wanted to reiterate that as well. So if you are interested in being vaccinated and potentially participating in a trial, we have several from our various platforms. There are a lot of you out here that are listening and watching this tonight. I want you to make sure you reach out. Reach out to Dr. White. Listen, he's answering many of the questions that most of you have asked. And the crazy thing is that a lot of times we start asking people questions who don't know what they're talking about. This man knows what he's talking about. Tina knows what she's talking about. So with that said, I would never, and let me say this, I would never put anybody, much less the sheep that God has assigned me to oversee, and I would never put your lives in danger. I would never do that. I wouldn't even host this moment if it was not something that could be trusted, if it was not something that I believe was beneficial. Me and Tina talked about it privately. And, this is, I believe, an important moment for us, even those in the city who are not members of Hope Fellowship Church. And you're watching this, I say, look, think about it, pray about it, consider it, call the office, have a conversation about it. So we're going to continue the conversation. I think we slated for about an hour, so we got about 7 or 8 minutes left. But if you all have questions, please make sure you put them in the chat. Questions concerning Johnson & Johnson. I'll ask a question. So what would be the difference, the major difference between Johnson & Johnson and the Moderna, the Pfizer, or the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccines?
Again, I think the AstraZeneca is similar to this one. In that It's a traditional adenovirus platform, which is just a fancy way of describing the way they get into your system. And then the Pfizer and the Moderna are the messenger RNA. So a very different way of producing the immune response. I saw the question go by. I wanted to just answer it because I saw it a couple times. I think we talked about it already, but yes, the question was, does the vaccine decrease the illness if you were to catch the coronavirus? And I think the answer, we kind of mentioned that before. You could be prevented completely from getting it, or you at least have a good shot at it not being as severe of a case. So the answer to that is yes, it would give you a less severe case if you actually did contract the virus. Again, I appreciate all the kind things you were saying about that, and I really do believe in what we do, and I predict if anybody comes, I'm not saying this with arrogance or anything, but I predict if anybody comes and participates, they will be patients of ours for years and want to participate in other things, because we've had people for literally as long as I've been doing research still with us and wanting to participate. We kind of have a family feeling, and we treat everybody very, very well. We don't have a very corporate feeling. But when you come to our facility, you don't even really sometimes recognize you're in a doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
We feed well. We have a lot of patients that participate in trials where they spend the night. So we have overnight facilities and very comfortable setting.
So, Dr. White, if someone had COVID already, is it still a good idea that they can come and participate in this trial?
Yeah, you know what? With the statistics on the Moderna and the Pfizer, they found that about 10 to 15% of the people that participated actually had the antibodies from having been infected. They may not have even known it. It might have been a mild case,
Wow.
but about 10 to 15% had the actual coronavirus antibodies in their system, and they still were participating in the clinical trial. It's similar to, if you can imagine, if you get they encourage you to get the flu shot next year. Well, you have the antibodies. We don't know because we don't test for them, but it's not a bad thing to have the vaccine repeated. They even tell some people for the flu vaccine, get it early in the season, repeat later in the season, so so by the time the season is over, you're not going to get sick at the end of it because your your antibodies might be lower. So there's no problem if you've had the antibodies from the previous corona infection to get the vaccine.
Okay. And the Johnson & Johnson Janssen trial, is it 2 doses, and what's the time frame between the two?
It's 8 weeks apart. So the first vaccine, as I mentioned, you come in 4 weeks to check your antibodies, and then 4 weeks later you get the second vaccine. So they're 8 weeks apart.
Okay. And I know we're talking about the COVID vaccine, but also for those of you that are interested, Dr. White not only is not only doing a trial for the COVID vaccine right now, but he's also doing trials for other things such as Alzheimer's, hypertension, and so forth. So please, 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 this is a great opportunity for us to reach out to a board certified physician of greater than 30 years with major integrity that has trials going on, research going on that can really help you get to know and understand your body better, and also hopefully help you become a more healthier you. So we're challenging many of you on this call today to reach out to Dr. White, to get involved, take control of your health, and stay as healthy as you can. But even if you do join the trial, please do not start disrobing when it comes to your mask. Wear your mask, wash your hands, continue to social distance, try to stay out of big crowds. We still have to keep everyone around us safe. And remember, this trial is for anyone that's 18 years and older.
Awesome.
And no upper age. Sometimes they cut it off, but there's no upper age cut off. Just as an example, the kind of cool stuff we do. I heard you saying about other things that we do. We're about to start a phase 3, which is a later phase of an oral insulin. How many people would love to, if we could get an oral insulin? You just take a pill of insulin as opposed to shots. So that's the kind of exciting stuff that we're doing.
That is awesome.
At BMR.
So, Dr. White, as far as the trial, there is a question. Do they need insurance to join this trial?
No, actually, you kind of touched on that at the beginning, and we're always a little uncomfortable talking about these things sometimes when it involves insurance and money. But yeah, I've never taken insurance. I wouldn't even know how to take a payment or insurance. Patients get free medical care. And when you mention you might get some money for your time, the FDA mandates that we pay participants. It's that important that we get people involved in clinical trials. And realize it's a sacrifice sometimes to travel there, spend hour and a half of your time. So we are essentially mandated to pay people when they come and to participate. So some people think that's coercion or whatever. No, we recognize that this is valuable. Your time is valuable. We don't take it for granted. You are volunteering, yes, but here's a little token of our appreciation, so to speak. It's not our money. It's mandated through all the studies. People get paid.
The one thing, I do have a girlfriend right now who she's healthy as a horse, but she's always in clinical trials. And believe it or not, she told me, she said, it really helps her financially. So for those of us that are in this financial crisis, there's some money that can potentially help you move forward in your bills and so forth and so on, your tithes and offering if you're not paying it. Did you catch that one, Pastor? I had to get that in there. So please make sure. One more good question. Is this trial FDA approved? And I believe that trials are not FDA approved, correct?
Well, it is an FDA. It's an FDA. The FDA is overseeing the trial.
Overseeing it. Okay.
Every trial that we do. drug has to go drug, and then everything goes through the FDA from the first phase through all three phases until they finally get approved. So the FDA is monitoring everything that's being done throughout the trial, and then they'll look at the data at some point and say, this is time to be released to the general public. So it is FDA. Yeah.
There's another question as far as, where did it go? They're asking if we're going to participate in the trial. Well, I will be very honest. I choose, and Dr. White knows this about me, I choose to take a lot of natural supplements, but I also choose not to be around crowds, not to be around a lot of people, not to social gather in big places. My pastor will tell you when I come to the church and make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm a stickler at that because I have small children. I have 2 ALFs that I have to deal with. So for me personally, I am not participating in this particular trial. But if I was to participate or take a vaccine, because I trust Janssen & Janssen and Johnson & Johnson, and they're such integrous companies, this would be the one that I would do first. Because Pfizer, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't want to get into a debate about it, but as far as I'm concerned, I just didn't see enough research for them to push it out as quick as they did. And I know they've had some trouble in the past, so it wouldn't be something that I would do.
From my perspective, I'm not allowed to do it. FDA will not allow a doctor conducting the trial to actually participate in their own trial. So I couldn't if I wanted to.
And from my perspective, I am very much like 99% convinced that I'm going to participate in the trial.
Just come see us and come. Let's set up a time so you can come.
I saw my aunt on here. I have an aunt that's a physical therapist who's in and out of homes, taking care of patients, doing in-home care. She just recently received, I believe, her first portion of the Moderna vaccine. My stepmother is a nurse. I have several persons in my family members that are on the front line, type essential workers, type people, teachers, so on and so forth. And I've seen what this virus can do. And, and with me being, pastor, preacher, musician, having to engage is just, for me, it's important. I am pro-vaccine, even though I am pro making sure that we mitigate, and that's so important. It's not either or. It is absolutely both and. The mitigation strategy, wearing masks, washing hands, so on and so forth. For me, it's do that and vaccinate, not or vaccinate. So we have, how do you schedule appointments to be trial participants? And thank you for being candid with our community and helping reduce our concerns. That's from Minister in Training. I believe that's Minister Anita Lee. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I would say at this point, just call the office number. Tell them you are interested in participating, and we're seeing about 20 people a day right now, and we take walk-ins, and so we're trying to fit as many people in as possible. We're trying to even ramp that up even more so we can get more people in participating before the study fills up and we don't have that opportunity anymore. So call the number, and you can mention you saw this on on this I call it a town hall. Is this a town hall?
Similar.
Yeah. Sort of hall with you guys. And that we'll schedule you. You can probably come be scheduled within the week or so.
Now, Dr. White, what about people, because we also have people on from the Central Florida area, but they just need to be able to make sure that they're able to come to their appointment. So anyone can participate in the trial that's 18 and older. They just have to make sure that they're able to meet the needs of make their appointments, correct?
Yeah, this is probably one of the easiest trials for people to participate in because it doesn't have certain requirements. Some of them you need fasting labs, so they have to be morning visits and that type of thing. This one we can do after hours, we can do weekends, we can You can come any morning or afternoon, and so a lot of flexibility. Plus, they give us a window. So if, let's just say you're up for 5 weeks, there's a window there we can play with. So it's very flexible. We have people participating in some of the clinical trials, like from every 2 weeks from Jacksonville could help them. So the traveling, it's actually fairly easy. Like I said, there's a screening visit, there's a patient visit. And a month later, you come in. So probably in 6 months, you come in six. Well, so scheduling won't be a problem.
Great. That is so great to know. Wow, this has been absolutely amazing. I believe that many of us have had our anxieties reduced, prayerfully even eliminated, not just about the vaccine, but also about being a participant in clinical trials. That's a whole nother thing. And there's several, that whole oral insulin thing, that's huge. So this has been a great opportunity. I want to make sure everybody has Dr. White's information. It's there on the screen, but please, ma'ams and sirs, remember, you can live in Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Daytona, New Smyrna. As long as you can come to these appointments and do right, then you can participate. 386-304-7070. Again, that's 386-304-7070. Thank you so much, Nurse Tina, for connecting us.
Can I offer one more? Can I offer one more thing? Sorry, Tina, give them my personal email address. It's actually a long one, but you're easy to remember. I'm Dr. Alex White, Alex White at progressivemedicalresearch.com. If anybody who's been listening today wants to reach out and ask me a question personally, just do that. Dr. Alex White at progressivemedicalresearch.com.
There we go. We have it coming up on all of our various feeds, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, and let's see if we can get it in the lower third as well if possible. Dr. Alex White at progressivemedicalresearch.com. I am grateful to you, Dr. White, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. I will be calling. I'll ask my one last question about my appointment once we end the live, but I will be calling so that we can move forward. This has been educational, informational, and I believe even inspirational. So thank you all to all of our guests and visitors. This may be your first time encountering us. Please make sure that you follow us on our various social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, so on and so forth. Follow Nurse Tina on her various platforms. She's always posting inspirational things, as well as trying to make sure that we stay aware of our health. And it's Thursday, right? I've been forgetting what day it is all week. It's Thursday? Yes. So it's Thursday, which means that I will see you all on Sunday morning at 10:30 for worship. It's going to be powerful, and we're going to have an amazing time. Again, thank you, Dr. White. Thank you, Nurse Tina. People are out there in the comment box thanking us. It's been a phenomenal time. So guess what, everybody? I love you. There's nothing that you can do about it. Have an amazing night, and call Dr. White. Call or email Dr. White. We'll see you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.